The outer mining colony of Helios Ridge was not the kind of place where history was made. It was a dusty outpost clinging to the side of a barren moon orbiting a cold blue gas giant. Cargo ships arrived, unloaded equipment, and left again. Miners spent their days digging through rock for rare minerals, and engineers worked constantly to keep aging machines from falling apart. It was quiet. It was forgotten. And Ethan Carter preferred it that way. Ethan was a human engineer, known around the colony as someone who could fix almost anything. Broken mining rigs, failing life support systems, even old starship engines that should have been retired decades ago. He worked alone most of the time, surrounded by tools, metal scraps, and the comforting hum of machinery. Politics, empires, and galactic wars were far away from Helios Ridge. Or at least they had been. Until the night the wounded warrior arrived. The crash. Ethan was halfway through repairing a damaged drilling machine when the sky above the colony suddenly lit up. At first, he thought it was another meteor storm. But then the alarms began to sound. A burning object streaked across the sky, trailing sparks and smoke. "That's not a meteor," Ethan muttered. The object slammed into the rocky hills a few kilometers away from the colony with a thunderous explosion. The ground trembled. Dust clouds rose into the air. Within minutes, the colony control tower announced an emergency warning. Unidentified craft detected. Possible crash landing outside perimeter. Most people stayed inside. Unknown ships rarely meant good news. But Ethan grabbed a flashlight and a medical kit. Curiosity had always been his weakness. The wounded warrior. The crash site looked like a battlefield. Metal debris was scattered across the rocky ground, glowing faintly from the heat of the impact. The remains of a small escape pod were half buried in the dust. Ethan approached cautiously. The pod hatch had been forced open from the inside. That meant someone had survived. He scanned the area, and then he saw her. A figure lay against a rock formation several meters away from the wreckage. Armor covered her body, sleek, dark, and far more advanced than anything used on Helios Ridge. But the armor was damaged. Deep cracks ran across the chest plate, and one shoulder had been torn open by what looked like an energy blast. Ethan knelt beside her. She was breathing but barely. Blood stained the ground beneath her. "All right," Ethan said quietly. "You're definitely not from around here." He carefully removed parts of the broken armor. The wounds were serious. Without treatment, she wouldn't last long. Ethan quickly applied a medical gel to stop the bleeding. As he worked, the warrior suddenly stirred. Her eyes opened. They glowed faintly silver in the dim light. She stared at him with confusion and suspicion. "You," she whispered weakly. Ethan raised his hands slightly. "Relax. I'm not the one who shot you." Her eyes studied him carefully. "You are human." "Last time I checked," Ethan replied. She tried to sit up but winced in pain. "Easy," Ethan said. "Your armor's in terrible shape and you've got at least 3 serious injuries." The warrior closed her eyes briefly. "You should not help me." Ethan frowned. "Why not?" "Because those who hunt me will soon arrive." Ethan sighed. "Yeah, that figures." A temporary refuge. Ethan brought the wounded warrior back to his workshop inside the colony. He knew it was risky, but leaving her outside would have meant certain death. Inside the small repair bay, he laid her on a medical table and began carefully repairing the damage to her armor. Up close, he realized the suit was extraordinary. Its design was unlike anything he had seen before. Alien technology. And extremely advanced. "You must be important," Ethan muttered while adjusting a broken energy conduit. The warrior watched him silently. "Why do you help me?" she finally asked. Ethan shrugged. "You crashed, you were bleeding, and I know basic medical treatment. Seemed like the right thing to do." She studied his face, as if trying to understand him. You do not ask my name. Figured you'd tell me when you wanted to. For the first time, the warrior looked slightly amused. My name is Vaelara.
Ethan, he replied.
She nodded slowly. The hunt. 2 days passed. Ethan treated her injuries and repaired the damaged parts of her armor. During that time, Vaelara rarely spoke about her past. But Ethan noticed something strange. Even while injured, she carried herself like a leader.
Calm.
Confident. Dangerous. On the third night, the colony alarms began screaming. Ethan looked up from his workbench. That can't be good. Outside, powerful ships descended from the clouds above Helios Ridge. Sleek black vessels unlike anything the miners had ever seen. Dropships landed around the colony. Armored soldiers began pouring out. Ethan turned toward Vaelara. Friends of yours? She stood slowly, her armor now mostly repaired.
No.
Her voice had grown cold. They are the ones hunting me. The attack. The soldiers moved quickly through the colony. They searched buildings and questioned civilians. Ethan grabbed a plasma cutter from his tool rack. Well, he said, this is officially the worst repair job I've ever taken. Vaelara watched him. You should leave. Yeah, Ethan replied. Probably. He didn't move. Instead, he checked the charge on the plasma cutter. Problem is, they're already here. Footsteps echoed outside the workshop door. The hunters had found them. The door burst open. 3 armored soldiers entered, weapons raised. Their leader stepped forward. His helmet visor glowed red. Target located, he said into his communicator. Then he pointed his weapon at Vaelara. The Empress will fall tonight. Ethan blinked. The what? The truth revealed. Before the soldier could fire, Vaelara moved. Even injured, she was faster than any normal fighter. Her blade flashed from her wrist armor. Within seconds, 2 of the attackers were on the ground. The third fired his weapon. Ethan instinctively tackled him from the side. The blast scorched the wall behind them. Ethan swung the plasma cutter like a club. The soldier collapsed. Silence returned to the workshop. Ethan slowly turned toward Vaelara. Did that guy just call you the Empress? Vaelara sighed softly. Yes. Ethan stared at her. You're serious? She removed part of her helmet. Her silver eyes met his. I am Empress Vaelara, ruler of the Astrix Dominion. Ethan leaned back against a workbench. Of course you are. A galaxy at war. Vaelara explained the truth. Her empire stretched across hundreds of star systems. But powerful factions inside the galaxy had united to remove her from power. Assassins. Rebel fleets. Political conspiracies. The crash on Helios Ridge had not been an accident. Her enemies had shot down her command ship. They believed she had died in the explosion. Until now. You should not have helped me, Vaelara said quietly. You are now part of this conflict. Ethan shrugged. Honestly, I think I was already part of it the moment you crashed into my backyard. The fleet arrives. Hours later, the sky above Helios Ridge filled with light. Massive warships emerged from hyperspace. Hundreds of them. The Imperial fleet. Their sensors had finally located their missing ruler. Dropships landed around the colony. Elite guards rushed toward Ethan's workshop. They entered and immediately knelt. Your Majesty. Ethan rubbed his face. Okay, I guess that's real. A new future. Before leaving the colony, Vaelara approached Ethan one final time. You saved my life, she said. Ethan shrugged. You crashed near the wrong engineer. She smiled slightly. Most people would ask for wealth, power, or titles after helping an empress. Ethan thought about it. Actually, I do have one request. What is it? He pointed toward his small cargo ship parked outside. The engine overheats during long jumps. Think your empire could upgrade it? Vaelara laughed softly.
Done.
Then she looked at him more seriously. The galaxy will soon know that a human engineer saved the Empress of the Astrix Dominion. Ethan sighed. I was hoping that part wouldn't spread. She smiled. It already has. The legend. Months later, the story spread across the galaxy. A simple human engineer had rescued a dying warrior on a forgotten mining moon, only later discovering she ruled one of the greatest empires in existence. Some called it coincidence. Others called it fate. But in the private archives of the Astrix Empire, Empress Vaelara wrote something different. In the farthest corner of the galaxy, a human helped a wounded stranger without asking who she was. He did not see an empress. He saw someone who needed help. And that is why humanity will one day stand beside the greatest civilizations of the stars. And somewhere among the endless mining stations of Helios Ridge, Ethan Carter returned to fixing broken machines. Though now, whenever a strange ship appeared in the sky, people looked at him a little differently.